at least, I see this so much in my own personal home group, but that it is just such a different group of characters that come together in such a beautiful way with a singleness of purpose. And it doesn't matter what their outside beliefs are when they get into those rooms, all of that stuff is not discussed. But what is shown is a vulnerability, a camaraderie that, is just incredibly wonderful and so binding.
I've heard it through the grapevine. Welcome. It's the AA Grapevine half-hour variety hour featuring the collected voices of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm Don, an alcoholic in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Don! Hey everybody, I'm Sam, an alcoholic in Palm Springs, California.
Hiya, Sam.
Good to see you, Mr. Don. What's been going on?
Not much. You?
Oh, look at you just throw it back at me like I'm prepared for this. I don't know what's going on in my life. Let me take a look at my calendar and see what's been happening recently. I went to a roundup.
A roundup? What's a roundup?
A roundup, it's a recovery conference. They're usually fairly small, and this one was in Austin, Texas, and I got to hang out with about 300 of my closest friends.
Whoa!
I'd never been to Austin, nor had I been to that roundup.
That sounds great.
So I ran into one person that I knew, because it's been a minute since I've been going to roundups, but it's one of those things that if I do this with regularity, they wind up being like reunions.
Oh, they
there
do,
are
yeah.
people that you just run into.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
And then a fun thing that happened was the Friday night speaker is the sponsee of a friend of mine that I knew in Durham who now lives in New York. It's just, 6 degrees of separation is totally a thing in AA. Actually, it's more like 2 degrees, I think. Well, hey, Don, we got a question via email, and it's a good one. Let's see what you think about it.
All right.
Is there a certain amount I should put in the basket, meaning the seventh tradition basket?
Ooh, so yes, a basket is passed around at most meetings. There's a group I go to that they say, if you're not a member of AA, please do not contribute. There's not an amount to put in the basket. And if you don't have it, AA is free. And there's no charge for anything. We all do it for fun and for free. And there's like a sponsor. I know that my first sponsor, I bought him a potted plant after finishing a fifth step with him. And he listened to all of that. And he spent so much time with me. And I just felt like I had to do something. He said, Don, I appreciate it. It was a Christmas cactus. It was a nice plant. But he said, what's going to happen is you're going to pay this forward by helping someone else eventually. And that's what I want you to do. Yes. So that's what happens. But we do have expenses. So if you can afford to put money in the basket, for the first meeting in Greensboro, North Carolina, where I am, was in the early 40s. And there were 12 people there.
You weren't there, though.
And I wasn't there, no.
Oh, okay.
There were 12 people who were there, and there's records of it, and they collected $12. And in 1940, $12 was a lot of money.
Yeah.
But that meant they put $1 in the basket. Well, if we're still putting $1 in the basket, are we really keeping up with inflation? I don't think so.
Yeah, I learned about something many years ago about the 2 and 5. I've forgotten what they called it, but it was,
There's a delegate here who does that in North Carolina.
Okay, so yeah, it was put $2 in the basket for meetings that are not your home group.
Right.
And $5 in your home group's basket. But who carries cash? Yeah, that's another whole hot topic of the digital seventh tradition.
Yeah.
But, one of the things that I encountered at a meeting in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, was a guy sitting across the table from me, had a $2 bill out. And I made a comment about it because I hadn't seen one in forever. And he's like, yeah, I get them by the bundle at the bank precisely because it invites the conversation about 2 and 5. So I got to travel internationally for 4 years for work and got to AA in all kinds of countries around the world. And in India, I was sitting in a meeting and they passed the can for the tradition. I was about to put in the equivalent of US $2. And the leader of the meeting wouldn't let me do it. And he took from my hand a much smaller amount of Indian currency and put it in the can because that was the appropriate amount. And it was just an interesting experience.
It's different in different places, so the
It
customs
is.
are going to be different. And making our own choices is important. And it's really a matter of what I can afford to give back to AA. And when I was new, I could afford 50 cents. So, yeah, and that was appropriate.
Well, and another thing to consider is that for many of us, as we gain long-term sobriety, we may not go to as many meetings as we used to. So if we were putting $1 or $2 in the basket at every meeting we were going to, maybe 7 a week, and then we start going to 2 or 3 meetings a week, maybe we can increase the amount that we're putting in the basket at those 2 or 3 meetings.
So I'm reminded of Scott's remarks at the closing of the International Convention. He's the chair of the General Service Board, and he was really powerful in his speech. He said something to the effect of, all the money in my pocket today was earned by me since I got sober. A dead man would have no money in his pockets. Whew. Everything I have, I owe to Alcoholics Anonymous. When I put money in the basket, I'm simply giving back to AA a small fraction of what Alcoholics Anonymous has given to me.
It's a very powerful statement, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a challenge for all of us to consider.
Yeah. Hey, today's guest is Andrew in Palm Desert, California. And afterwards, we're going to answer a question sent in for a segment, A Newcomer Asks.
But first, the news! There's an opening for an AA Grapevine Incorporated non-trustee director.
Non-trustee directors are AA members selected for their business or professional experience that relates to the activity of the corporation.
A non-trustee director may serve up to 4 successive one-year terms.
For more details and how to apply, visit aagrapevine.org or in the Grapevine app under Important Updates or the News tab in the AA Meeting Guide app.
The deadline is November 12th, 2025. No matter what, dealing with adversity and sobriety is a Grapevine book full of powerful stories of AA members about using the tools in the fellowship to get through the tough times in sobriety. It includes helpful stories about illness, divorce, financial loss, death of a child or sponsor, house fires, and more. Great for members going through difficult times. Find it under Books in the Grapevine store, online, or in the app.
Hello, everyone. I'm Andrew M. From Palm Desert, California. My sobriety date is 8/24/23, and my home group is Shipwreck in Palm Desert, California.
How many Palm things are there? There's Palm Springs, there's Palm Desert.
Well, it's the only thing that grows out here, so there's a lot.
And sand, lots of sand.
No shortage.
So do you two know each other?
We do, actually, a little bit.
I've known Andrew for a little over a year and a half now, I think it is, that I've been going to Shipwreck.
Shipwreck. Well, Andrew, describe Shipwreck.
So Shipwreck is a men's meeting. It's also a crosstalk meeting, and it's been going on for about 6 years. And I moved to the desert about a little less than 4 years ago, and it was one of the first meetings that I attended over here, and it's held a special place in my heart ever since then.
How many people tend to go?
I would say it's anywhere from 25 to most I've seen maybe 50, give or take.
Yeah, it is a group. It is a home group. Yeah, we exist outside of the meeting time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a WhatsApp thread going that is the Shipwreck group chat, so that the conversation goes on all the time, so to speak. And we also have a presence at one of the local recovery centers where we take a panel every Saturday.
There is definitely a big proponent about service in that meeting, whether it be for H&I or reaching out to newcomers. It's kind of a intricate part of that group.
Wow. So, Andrew, when did you get sober?
So I was first introduced to AA around the time I was 17. That was many moons ago, and wasn't ready to hear much of it at that age. So then I started trying to get sober with some intention, probably about 5 or so years ago. God willing, I'm coming up this month will be 2 years with consistent sobriety for me. But before that, I had about a year and a half with some crispy dry sobriety in that, where I was lacking some program.
Well, most people come to AA, they don't want to come to AA.
I was one of those people. It was a lot of trying to find easier, softer ways. It was a lot of me thinking that I could outthink this disease. And like many of us, I came in with a very strong self-will. And I had overcome a lot of other things in my life. So I had evidence that, I should be able to figure this out as well. And so time and time again, I would come in and think of AA as like, a tool or resource that I would use for a certain amount of time to get to a point where I could drink like a gentleman, or that I could regulate and control this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And time and time again, I got the example that was not the case, that it was not something to do with willpower. And that no matter how much I tried to think this thing through, or what evidence I got, I believe there's a part in the book that talks about, with this, I forget who it was, but somebody was going through something where it was like, with this knowledge that I now have, there's no way that I could go back to drinking. I had, a revelation like that coming out of a treatment center. And I thought, okay, now that I've spent X amount of dollars on this treatment, now that I have, suffered so greatly, there is no way that I could go back to drinking again. And came out of there and was working a program well, but I stopped going to meetings and I thought I had it figured out. Mm-hmm. But I started getting more irritable and discontent and more miserable, and I couldn't really pinpoint why. Eventually, I ended up drinking again. Luckily, that was the last piece of evidence for me that there wasn't another way. There wasn't a way to think through this. It was through diligent work in the program that I could achieve long-term sobriety. So,
Andrew, you said something that really made my ears perk up, and that was about, using AA as a tool. Yeah, we have a lot of tools in AA, a lot of things that we learn to do. And then we have the 12 steps, the program of AA. But a very distinct part of all of that is that while I may use these things as tools, I can't make them work on me. I have to let them work on me.
That's the hardest thing to figure. I mean, just you saying that, it sounds like, what are you talking about?
Uh-huh. And it's absolutely true.
Describe it, Andrew. What is he talking about?
Well, I mean, I couldn't agree more with that. And, it was trying to make it work, or at least for my personal experience, trying to make it work around how I wanted it and to conform it to what works best for me. That self-will coming in again, where it was like, okay, I can do some of these things, but just in the way that I want, or in the time frame that I want. And all of that was, centered around me. That's so much of our problem, is that we're all thinking about, okay, well, what is this doing for me? And I didn't even think that I thought that way, but, looking back on it, it's so apparent now, such a huge part of getting out of that. And the part that I didn't incorporate in that year and a half of sobriety I had, where I was very dry, was really getting involved in the fellowship and also getting involved in service. Now in my program, those are focal points, especially the service part.
What do you mean by service?
I mean, working with other alcoholics, helping them get sober, sponsorship, H&I panels.
Hospitals and institutions.
And just generally trying to be helpful to other people and not to be just doing things for personal gain or anything along those lines.
When I'm feeling bad, I need to turn my attention to someone else. That's the hardest thing to grasp, but it's the truth. Actually, usually my mind has convinced me that the world has gone to hell.
And it's always going to be this way. It's never going to get good again.
And everyone's against me. And going to AA is where I turn my attention to other people. And when I turn my attention to helping other people, it turns out that all that stuff becomes realistic.
It's those counterintuitive things that when you first hear, they don't make a lick of sense, where it's like you can escape your problems by helping other people. And initially it's like, wouldn't that mean I'd have more problems trying to, get into other people's problems? Yeah. And it didn't make any sense. It's not until, you start to get into it and you're like, okay, when I'm, helping somebody else and not thinking about myself. And same thing with sponsorship. Like, I liked what, you were saying about something about not understanding like what you're getting from doing some service work like that, but it's that it'll get paid forward later on when they help the next person. And watching that transpire, that's indescribable. How wonderful that is to see someone that you help then help the next person, and that continuance of this whole thing.
Andrew, you had something happen to you in the past several months that gave you a fantastic opportunity to delve further into being of service in the program. Would you talk about that?
Absolutely, yeah. It was one of those things. I was busy at work in my first year of sobriety, and I wanted to be of more service. And I knew that was something that was lacking that I wanted to kind of bolster. And so, surely enough, I got an opportunity to do that through my ACL getting torn in a basketball game. I work in the service industry, and so I ended up going out on disability. And when it initially happened, it was one of those things where I was like, I can't believe this happened to me, and that, I have to deal with the consequences of this now. And pretty quickly, then I flipped that thinking into, okay, well, let's try to look at the positive of this. I'm going to have a lot more time to do what I wanted to do and be of more service. Being an alcoholic, I went into that alcoholically and went to a newcomer meeting every single morning and ended up picking up 10 new sponsees. Wow. Cast myself into the fire of service.
Wow. Yeah. Dive in both feet there.
I don't do anything halfway, and that's how I drank, and that's how I work my program. And it was an extremely educational experience. And, there was times that it was a little bit overwhelming, and there were high highs and low lows. It taught me so much about myself and taught me so much about service. And, it's one of those things I look back on. You wouldn't think an injury like that normally would be such a beneficial thing, but it was such a blessing in hindsight. It's one of those higher power, they call them God shot moments of looking at that and being like, everything happens for a reason.
Now, had you sponsored before this grand opportunity to be a mega sponsor?
I had one sponsee before that. When, the last time that I tried, I'd only gotten up to my 9-step before I stopped going to meetings.
Okay.
Once I started to complete my amends, my sponsor told me, once you make that first amends, technically you should start helping other people and sponsoring other people. I don't know if that's consistent throughout all other sponsors, but, I was like, okay. And somebody ended up asking me very shortly after that in the meeting I was secretary. That was a very educational experience and trying and difficult. And this particular gentleman was having a terrible time staying sober and would call me intoxicated all the time and, just be crying on the phone about this, that, and the other personal things that were going on. And it taught me a lot about boundaries and what is appropriate to facilitate and what, This is outside the realm of my expertise and what I can assist with.
So if someone does call you drunk, how would you respond?
I'd say it varies case by case. I would never condemn someone. We don't shoot our wounded here. And if somebody is
Yeah.
struggling, I'll always be there to help. But, sometimes I might have to say, listen, I'm going to call you back in the morning when you're sober.
Andrew, we're going to move to the newcomer ask question. But first, I'm going to ask you a newcomer question. You've been in and out. What would you say is the essential things that you need to do to stay sober?
I mean, staying connected in with the fellowship, not thinking that you can outsmart this thing, or at least for me personally, that willingness. And, you hear some people refer to it as a gift of desperation. I don't know too many people that come to AA with a ton of options. We're a lot of the times the last house on the block. And staying connected with that fellowship, working with the sponsor, and then as soon as you can, getting service commitments, getting plugged into your meetings where you take a job making coffee, setting up, greeting, anything you can. You hear a lot of that term, staying in the middle of the herd.
And those make you a part of.
Yes.
Exactly. And when you veer to the outskirts, you're a lot easier to be taken out.
So let me wait a minute. You said stay connected in fellowship. So I'm going to take that to mean go to meetings and talk to people in meetings and get a sponsor and a service position. Get a position somehow that will get you connected. So those are three good things.
Three good things, no doubt. And there's a thing that I love this because it's a secret of AA.
All right, here it comes.
All right, here it comes. So one of those things that we hear early in the rooms and maybe later on as well is that I have to be willing to change everything.
You only have to change one thing, and that's everything.
That's another version. Now, here's the thing, though. In the way that I just stated, you have to be willing to change everything. There's a key word in there, willing. I don't have to change everything. I have to be willing to change. And in my willingness to change everything, that means I don't pick and choose what changes.
Absolutely. That willingness is that's the secret sauce to this whole thing, because like, if you aren't willing, there's literally nothing someone can say to you to get through to you. But if you are willing, literally anyone could say anything to get to you. So
yeah, I heard that put, and the first time I heard this, I really was going, oh no, but it was, I have to be willing to get sober somebody else's way.
Yes.
It was like, oh no.
That was the worst thing I've ever heard. I was just like,
but I mean, realistically,
I'm so stuck to my way.
You were doing it your way and it didn't work.
It's
no,
the
I
truth.
was doing it my way. It didn't work. And I tried doing it my way again several years into my recovery, and I wound up fooling myself and resetting my date.
It's time for the Ask It Basket.
What's that?
That's the name Bill W. gave the basket that was passed around for questions. We want your questions for our guests.
General recovery questions, newcomer questions, AA history.
Got a question for the Ask It Basket? Go to aagrapevine.org and click on podcast.
And now let's dip into the basket. So we received this question for our segment, A Newcomer Asks, from Madeline M. And folks, we need more newcomer questions. aagrapevine.org/podcast. You can email them. You can record a voice file and email that. You can also call our phone number and leave a voicemail. Madeline writes, here's a question I had when I first got sober. Why can't I date when I first get sober?
Ooh.
All of us are laughing.
Ooh. And I just had somebody ask me this.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he said, I can make decisions.
And you can. They might not be good ones. But...
What say you, Andrew?
That's a tricky one to navigate. If I had one amendment to it, it would be whether you are in a relationship or you aren't, just don't change what's going on there. Because I mean, you have people that are married and whatnot, and so that's not exactly applicable. But it's one of those things I feel like when you get in first, I mean, your thinking is not exactly in line with my what might line up with emotional sobriety.
Yeah.
And you know,
That's one of the problems that's caused my life to blow up.
yeah, you're very vulnerable, I feel like, too. And there's such high emotions that run in with starting a new relationship that they can kind of take precedent over your program.
I always put it that it is the experience of AA that we don't get in a relationship when we first get sober. And some of the reasons are, as you said, you're not emotionally stable and you need to get emotionally stable before entering in a relationship. I didn't know how to behave in a relationship. That is one of the things we learn through working the steps to be able to ask the questions. Am I being selfish? Am I being dishonest? Am I being inconsiderate? Is this hurting someone? And being able to have tools to bring forth to make decisions in a relationship and dealing with other people. One of the problems is I'm not good at dealing with other people. One thing that can happen very easily, particularly in a new relationship, I mean, what is falling in love but the other person becomes my higher power? This becomes all consuming. And that's the feeling of being in love. It's like, this is everything, and she's got everything I need, and I will be complete. You need to do that with a higher power.
Absolutely.
It's real easy to let emotions get going. We're not great at it. And the other thing that I think is really important that I've learned over the years from other people's experience, because I was already in a relationship when I got sober,
Me too.
there is so much change that we tend to go through in that first year of our recovery.
Like change everything.
Yeah. But there's so much internal
Yes.
change that the person that I am presenting to someone else to date in early recovery, I don't know who that person is. And that person is not who is going to be there at the end of that first year. It's a completely different person in many situations. So it's just kind of that thing of, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say that I've got to do this being honest and with integrity whenever that's not necessarily something that I brought in when I got here.
Yeah.
Yeah. My wife said to me this weekend, you're an entirely different person than the person that I married. And I was going, I hope this is a good thing.
She was like, thank God.
Yeah, really. It's a matter of being patient, and it's very hard to be patient. In the amount of change that happens to someone who first gets sober in 3 months, it's incredible. You go 6 months, it's incredible. But it feels like an eternity.
It surely does.
Looking back, it's like, oh, I can see how much I've changed. But in the middle of it, it's like, I'll never have 2 weeks sober.
Yeah.
So, it's really the same thing as saying don't drink forever.
Yeah.
To say don't drink for a year. Let's not do that. One day at a time. Stay focused on recovery, get sober, and then there'll be incredible opportunities to have deep relationships that you could not imagine. Andrew, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Don, we got a letter from a listener, Ed H., who goes by the title Bleeding Deacon Emeritus.
He writes, I'm a Grapevine reader who recently discovered your podcast. It's a good way to wake up. Have you considered giving some time to Grapevine's Carry the Message program? My home group provides a gift certificate to this program. It would be interesting to learn more about how the program got started, how it works, and how it benefits people.
That's a good idea. So we asked the Grapevine publisher, Chris C., to give us the lowdown.
The Carry the Message program is a wonderful way for members to help other alcoholics, really good 12th step work. We have the corrections desk and the treatment desk at the General Service Office. Both those desks are in touch with AA members who are usually kind of new to the program, trying to find their way. As they get lists of new people coming in, those lists are given over to our customers relations manager, and our customer relations manager is able to provide free year-long subscriptions to the folks who are new to AA, whether in treatment or corrections. We also supply subscriptions free of charge to members who may be shut in or can't get to meetings because they live in remote communities. People who don't have the funds to subscribe, we can supply free subscriptions to them too through the Carry the Message program.
That's interesting. I thought it was just for the incarcerated.
No, it's a wide breadth. Just to give you a sense of what this year, January through July, we've had 887 Carry the Message gift certificates purchased. And so far we've processed 610. So we have a balance of about $2,000 left. So we're kind of on track for about 1,500 being purchased this year by members of AA.
So if someone participates with the Carry the Message program, you don't have a problem finding people to give subscriptions to.
No, we have. I mean, it's an amazing balance. It seems like over the 4 years that I've been here, we're right on target. We've never had a whole lot of people waiting. We've never had a whole lot of money sitting there waiting for people. It all seems to balance out nicely.
That's a God shot.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm sure it has in the past, but in the 4 years I've been here, it's been pretty well balanced. It's pretty easy to do. Like your group buys a certificate. Our group does quarterly contributions. So we send money to the local intergroup, the local area, local district, and the general service office. And we also every quarter purchase a gift certificate. For the Carry the Message program.
It's part of your quarterly distribution of home group funds.
A basket money. Mm-hmm. Yep. It's pretty easy to do. You just go on to aagrapevine.org, our website, or aalavenia.org. Click on Carry the Message, and the instructions are there. You know, there's different ways that you can give gift certificates. The Carry the Message gift certificates are one way. Mm-hmm. The instructions are right there for that. And then you can also buy gift certificates for friends or for family or for newcomers or for sponsees or for sponsors, whoever you want to buy one for. You purchase a gift certificate, they're emailed to you. You can email them to the person or you can print it out if you want to put it in an envelope with a card or something like that for a special occasion. Carry the Message is somebody you don't know. Right. Now you can buy them for people you do know, get a gift certificate and pass it on to them. There's also ways to purchase gift subscriptions, which is just you signing somebody up for a subscription and paying for it. That you can find in the magazine or online too. But the gift certificates are nice because you can actually hand somebody something.
I see.
See, this is one of the services that's provided by AA Grapevine. We don't really profit from this too much, but it's a service that's provided by AA Grapevine, like the podcast, like our YouTube channel, like our Instagram, that are helping alcoholics on a daily basis. It's important that people understand that and support Grapevine through subscriptions or through the Carry the Message program to keep us going.
The subscription does a lot more than just provide you with a copy of the magazine. It's also helping support all the other things that the Grapevine does.
Right, exactly.
Well, Chris, thanks.
All right. Thank you.
An indignant dowager comes upon a very drunk on the street.
Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth.
If I were in your condition, I'd shoot myself.
If you were in my condition, lady, you'd miss.
It's really not that funny.
Thanks for joining us. The AA Grapevine Half Hour Variety Hour is posted every Monday and is produced by AA Grapevine, Inc. We don't speak for AA as a whole. We share the experience, strength, and hope of members to help others recover from alcoholism. All things Grapevine are available at aagrapevine.org. including our app and how to get in touch with us. Find us on Instagram and YouTube. If you want to know more about AA, visit aa.org or search online for Alcoholics Anonymous and your city.